Brad Sadek, Pat Cooper, and I guess, J-Doc, the best way to introduce Brad and Pat is to say, back by popular demand. We did an earlier show with both Brad and Pat. Great information, great content, delivered a lot of very meaningful information. Great to have them back on the Labor Show tonight.
Absolutely, guys. Welcome to the broadcast for part two of your discussion. Great to have you here. You know, you guys do a lot of union representation. Brad, how are the unions reacting and the union members that are your clients reacting to the coronavirus situation?
Well, basically what I'm seeing I help people with debt relief, and that's a very broad spectrum that encompasses bankruptcy, debt consolidation, mortgage foreclosure defense, etc. And what I see is the unions that we help and the specific people that we represent, they are essential workers. Those workers, they are on the front lines and they are working now more than ever. And because they're working more than ever, they actually might have greater spending power to allocate towards their previous debts. So maybe, 3 or 4 months ago, we would have considered a bankruptcy right away. Now we're talking about other options, maybe a debt consolidation, maybe some type of, more along the lines of credit management, where maybe we can avoid a potential bankruptcy. So although they are working more, it's also opening up more financial doors for the union workers themselves, and we're happy to guide them through that.
Brad, let me get your thoughts on this. I watched a story leading up to a news story tonight, leading up to getting ready to go on the air with the live broadcast. There's pressure out there for the creditors, for the banks, for the mortgage holders to have some leniency, to have some empathy, to not be so forceful the way perhaps they might be in a normal situation. Is that true? Is that what's happening?
Well, those creditors, they're actually businesses as well. What I am seeing is, if we're talking about federal student loans, yeah, they are deferred. They are deferred interest-free. But then we talk about more private lenders, ranging from private student loans to credit cards. The problem is the credit card companies, people are home. They're easier to find. The credit card companies are calling people more and more and more. And there are some deals to be worked out, but those deals also have to be affordable. And these credit cards, they're only going to stay in business if they're collecting money. What I've heard with larger expenses, and what I'm talking about is car payments and mortgage payments, I think those are the first things to really bog people down, are forbearances. And generally the forbearances are 3 months. So if somebody has a mortgage payment of $2,000 and it's $2,000 for April, May, and June, that's $6,000. So if there's a 3-month forbearance, that $6,000 is due in July plus July's payment. Truthfully, I don't think it's enough, and I think it's an unrealistic expectation for those creditors to assume that people are going to have the money. I think when we are back to work, we're going to be working more, but at the same time, I don't think our earnings are going to increase that quickly to keep pace with the debts that that people have come behind on. So I think that's going to be an issue. But right now, there's a lot of kicking the can down the road that's going to come into the forefront.
So having said that, let's talk about the stimulus checks that are coming in. To the creditors, I've heard all kinds of stories on the news. Do the creditors have first right to them, if there's back payments?
Well, as far as the stimulus, if it is a creditor, if somebody owes the bank and there's a lien on the bank, yes, that lien would have first right to the stimulus itself. But if there's not a judgment, then no. If somebody owes $10,000 in credit card debt and they're getting a stimulus of $1,200, that $1,200 is their money. It is not earmarked directly to the $10,000. Now, the problem is somebody could use that $1,200 to pay their debts voluntarily, but no, it is not mandatory.
And I appreciate you, Brad and Pat, being on the show tonight. And with that, J-Doc, I'll toss it over to you, sir.
Credit relief, okay? This isn't on the agenda, but I hear all kinds of things like, if people are behind on bills or they're behind on, to creditors, that they're not, especially during the pandemic, they're not going to be hit with hits to their credit. I mean, how could somebody be blamed for not being able to pay their bills when they're told they're not allowed to go to work? What's the situation with that, Brad?
Well, the thing is, even though they're not working and they're not making the money that they used to, those bills and those creditors, they keep going. That is fluid and that marches on, especially, again, with mortgages and credit cards. And some people, they're continuing to incur debt during this because this is not an inexpensive time for people. People's spending has shifted dramatically. But when we talk about, how are they not going to pay their bills, it's an impossibility at this time. And, the government has tried to step in and the government has helped. The thing is, it's not a long-term solution. The stimulus is not the long-term solution. The solution is getting us back to work. And, that's as much as a medical question as it is a legal question, but it cannot go on forever.
So having said that, we got about 2 minutes, maybe 1.5. Real quick, Brad, are people spending money from home?
So people are spending money, but the way people are spending money is actually shifting. I was actually reading a news article this morning, and people are getting away from, what we could expect. They are not spending money on things like gas in restaurants and entertainment, dry cleaning, and vacations. So those things, people are saving a lot of money. But people are spending money on things such as, and this is going to bring us all back, people are spending money on books. Books are up 300% this year. So books, cleaning supplies are up over 200%. Sports and outdoor equipment, great to see the kids getting out there. Toys, groceries, pet supplies, tools, and health and beauty are the highest, increase in consumer spending. And, if there is any good, it is those things. It kind of brings us back in time almost.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us again. I mean, whenever you guys are on, the bottom line is there's not enough time because there's so much to talk about, so much great information. I want to thank Brad Sadek and Pat Cooper from the law firm of Sadek and Cooper for what you guys are doing.